issues we've been having with the IRS. Um, and some of you may not even remember this because basically Dwayne has been dealing with this along with a couple of Baker Tilly's IRS per se experts, I guess, in this field. This goes clear back to when we first came into office, and we found out that, well, I think it was on, it's in the ordinance, but I think it was on Dwayne's first or second day in office, the IRS came in and said they were going to freeze the city's accounts because we hadn't turned in certain information from our 2016 tax filings. And they had requested them numerous times and not gotten them. So we got a letter November 2nd, Dwayne, November 1st, from the IRS saying that they were not going to waive the penalty. They were not, and we were going to owe them the penalty plus interest. The penalty was $189,469.19. The interest at this time, if paid by November 13th, would be $26,544.11. Like I said, doable on November 13th. Dwayne reached out to the ones from Baker Tilly that's been working with us, and they've sort of told us, hold on, there's still another step in the process. But we had already put this on the docket, and I think we need to discuss how we want to proceed with it in case we do end up owing a considerable amount of money. Kelly's been brought into it. I was not aware that Kelly never knew anything about it. But like I said, this goes clear back to the start of our administration. It was actually Dwayne's welcome to the clerk treasurer's office. Dwayne, do you have some more detail on exactly what the filings were that we didn't?
We didn't do the 1094C and 1095C for 2016, and so that's where this penalty is running from. Now those have since been filed. We filed them after we figured out what it was. My office went back and went ahead and got the filings done, but there had been enough period of time left over, and they had tried for 2.5, 3 years to get this taken care of and didn't get it done. So that was the initial reason when they came into my office that they threatened to shut down our accounts. So they gave me a 30-day abatement to try to work on it. I enlisted Baker Tilly right away, and they started working through the process with us, and we've gotten to this point. Part of it is this all occurred during COVID, or our end of it all occurred during COVID, and the IRS was not working at full capacity. So for basically the last year, I've been getting a letter every 60 days saying, hey, we've got your information. We'll wait 60 days. Within the next 60 days, we'll make a determination. And they've continued to push it out and push it out and push it out until this month they finally sent a letter saying, hey, we've overviewed all this and we're denying your abatement.
So this is for 2016 year only,
Correct.
January 1st, December 31st. When did the treasurer's office first hear this? If it happened 2016, we didn't hear from it until 2021.
It was 18. No, it was 18 when they first contacted.
2018 we first heard?
Yeah, because you got to realize this was for 16, so it would have been filed in 17 through 16. And then the IRS actually has, I believe, 3 years to go back and process and bring forward issues. Well, the next year or the year and a half after that, they came forward and said, hey, you got an issue. We need this addressed. And it never got finalized or never got addressed.
Okay, we were first notified in 2018 then.
August of 2018.
2018, okay. What year did COVID start?
2020.
2020, March of 2020.
Okay, so 2018 to 2020, the city did nothing?
That's
Well,
what
it's not like-
Okay.
through February of 2020, February 2020,
All right,
we submitted paperwork.
Through our Baker Tilly or whoever's handled this, what excuse did we give to the IRS that we didn't do it for 2016?
That we didn't understand that how the filing was supposed to occur. So the filings the IRS tends to change things without really giving you notification, and then you're supposed to find it on their website. Well, I think the filings went in either late or didn't get done, and then they wanted them in a electronic form, and that electronic form wasn't available at that time, so we had to get Baker Tilly the information. They converted all the information to the electronic form for us and submitted it then, so that all the information is current, and the IRS has all that information now. The 1095s that they were waiting on were delivered in
Yeah.
in
But
21.
that has been paid. So, okay, so we paid it plus the penalties. We just haven't paid the penalties yet.
We haven't paid anything because
Haven't paid anything.
because the advice we had was, we think this will be abated, and they initially, Baker Tilly had said, when they talked to the IRS even said, their representative said, hey, this is kind of a slam dunk, there's no reason for you to worry, they're going to abate this.
Okay,
So-
and so they just found out recently, Baker Tilly did from the IRS, that they're not gonna abate it. that we
Right, they
owe.
found it the same time we
They
did.
got the same letter we got.
Yeah.
Okay, now, is Baker Tilly gonna appeal this for us?
Yes.
They're willing to appeal it, yes.
Okay,
And they still feel like there's a real good chance that it could be overturned and the abatement awarded. But the concern I have is we've continued to process penalties on this, even though it may get overturned, and if it doesn't get overturned, then we gain more penalties on top of that. So we're at 26,000 in penalties right now. You add another, if it goes another 6 months, we could be adding another, $10,000 onto this.
so what's Baker Tilly recommending to us now, to go ahead and pay the penalties?
They're recommending to hold off and
Okay,
go ahead and make the abatement, make the appeal for the abatement.
what
But
does our attorney think?
I had contacted Baker Tilly and said, give me a copy.
Okay,
And Dwayne's talked to them, they wanted his okay before they released it. He's given them that okay, so I'm supposed I pass some of that stuff, not all of it tomorrow, to see where we are. It's a sound and a ring of somebody that feels like they've been ignored.
Yeah.
and They're just trying to get your attention.
yeah,
Hope that Baker Tilly's
Well,
correct. It's-
I believe what our attorney
Yeah.
said, they also to pay him nothing, let Baker Tilly continue doing.
Well, let me just ask you this, Kelly. Is
One
it-
of the things before we ask that, what Dwayne is saying, I don't disagree with, but I think we give it another 30 to 60 days to shake out here, and that may be what we do, or Baker Tilly says, hey, they're okay on it. But yeah, we don't want it to linger, because I think that's what got us in this predicament.
That was-
2016, and then we find out when first day in office, 2018, and then 2022, we get a nasty letter. So
Yeah, but in 2016, 2015, did the rules change with the IRS?
I don't know if they did or
Okay.
not right there. I mean,
Yeah,
but you're looking at a first time, it's like for me coming in 20, you're still learning all those systems of what you need to do. So whether they're not done right or they just got missed, I don't know, Carl. I'm just saying that because of it, we're dealing with that issue.
does the State Board of Accounts know anything about this?
They know that there's been tax issues. They don't know to the extent.
For clarification, how many notices were sent before you took office to get this cleaned up?
I believe there was at least 2 sent. I know there were 2 personal visits made by an agent.
Okay, I don't understand when we're talking about finances of this nature, how that doesn't come back on the employee.
Well, or not on the employee, back on the bonding insurance company.
That's what I'm,
Of who bonded, because anybody in that capacity, unless the state laws change, y'all have to be bonded
right.
Right.
for
we
doing
do.
money.
So-
Same with
Bonded and
the state.
registered.
So the State Board of Accounts will probably come back when they get finalized down and ask why have not we contacted whoever our bonding company was in 2016? Because if we end up paying them $200,000 or $300,000 or whatever it is, we got recourse to come back against the bonding company, or at least in my opinion.
Well, I got a hold, when I learned of this, what our day was Thursday, on there, I got a hold of our agent that same day to let him know that we
Okay.
got this nasty letter, sent him a copy of it.
Excellent.
He was out with a injury
Yeah.
he had, but I got word from him today that they're making the inquiries as to the
Good.
coverages that we had.
Well, that just protects us, because that's the reason we take the insurance out from the bond out. I call it the
Wouldn't it be
insurance
who was bonded, the clerk treasurer at the time?
policy. Who bonded it in 2016?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same.
It's the same-
company
it's the
that
same
did that,
group.
but
It's the same
whoever-
group.
Yeah,
whoever
we've
was
kept the
at
same
that time,
bonding
right.
all the way through for the
Okay.
last 3 years.
That
4
was-
years.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be on us.
No,
So,
I agree.
and with that being said, I think we should wait because when the bond company,
That's fine. That's for you guys to decide. That's the reason I brought it forward. But the issue you have is if the accumulation of penalties, that if we go through this process and let's say it's next year and they come back and they say, hey, we're not going to abate this, then we will have obtained a couple more months of penalties. And, maybe the bond company covers that and that's great. But whether they cover it right away, it continues on our liabilities. Whereas if and anything that we proceed, like doing this tonight, we couldn't approve this before next month. So we're still a month behind in the rear for those penalties.
But I agree with our attorney. Let's wait until January and decide at that time if we're gonna go ahead, well, 2 months, we said. So that'll be January, the January meeting, because IRS is sort of like an attorney. They're gonna send you letters and try to scare you. No, that's what you always for a living. And stuff. And the IRS does the same thing. They're a bully. And you get somebody in the spot down there that's a clerk or whoever that they're talking to, even with Baker Tilly, will do the same
And
thing.
they read these minutes, Carl.
Yes. Well, let them read it. That's right. They're probably open their audit and read right now, Kelly. So, yeah, that's fine. Well, that's my say.
So Kelly, specifically, then, what's your recommendation at this point?
I would say that we wait until we get a chance to review how this arose, what the issues are, how much it's there, how negotiable it is, and then we ought to make arrangements probably no later than January to pay it. I mean, we could pay it today, but by the time we process it, you're talking about 30 days
Right.
before it's paid, and then we can do the same thing. But I just can't tell you, because I asked them for a copy of everything, what they sent us, what we sent them, and how it came about, and they wanted some okays before they did that, and so I assume that'll be forthcoming, and by the next meeting, I'll be able to tell you a whole lot better, because right now, I've alerted our insurance company, so if there is
That's good.
liability, we have some chance for some recovery. Hopefully, we don't need it. That's all a mess. And then we'll find out, hopefully, by the end of the year. I hope it's not that long. But I don't know either of the guys that.
I guess, to be specific, then, you think we should just not even move the ordinance forward to start the process of having funding in place, just to wait to even start the process of putting the funding in place?
If you want to do first read, is there an ordinance?
Yes.
Yeah, there's an ordinance. That's what the finance is for, is to move that forward for first reading. But there's been no appropriation hearing for it, which would have to occur. So that's what I said. We're a month down the line. No matter what we do, when we start the process, we'll be outside of the guidelines of whatever the penalty would be. So that's the reason why the actual ordinance is for a little more than what the actual penalty is right now, with anticipation of that.
Couldn't find my packet
Yeah.
on there. But yeah, I think that's fine to get the process rolling so that if it turns out it all goes south on us, that we don't incur any more Because the interest rates are high, but they charge, it's more than market rate, and so we don't want it to drag.
17, 19%, so, but, okay. I'm against it until the 1st of December anyway, until you
Yeah, we're not gonna be.
go back and forth and,
recommending it.
put it on hold. My recommendation, put it on hold until December the 5th meeting. So, I'm one vote.
Amy, what-
I'm fine to put it on hold, but, I mean, we could do first reading. But, like you said, I wouldn't write a check.
Like I said, no matter, well, like Dwayne said, no matter which approach we take, once we put it on the agenda, we'd have to advertise a public meeting for the additional appropriation just to have the funding in place. So, Larry?
I'm just like Amy.
Okay, if we just did the first reading?
I agree with Amy.
So we're gonna do, we'll
Put it
we'll
on
move this
hold.
forward for,
Well, I thought, did you say we put it on hold or to move
I
it?
thought we should do the first reading, then put it on hold.
Okay.
So we have it started, but.
we'll move this forward for the first reading for tonight.
Because isn't it my understanding, we still owe something?
Well, according to Baker Tilly, they were gonna reach right back out and start the appeal process, because like Dwayne said, this is the first communication since like, what, March?
At least.
And in March, the understanding that we had been given from Baker Tilly was that this was gonna be abated and be done. And, then out of nowhere, he gets this letter first of the week, of last week, that, they want their money by the 13th.
Well, sure they are. They're,
So,
well, okay.
all right, so we'll move this forward. It is 6:34, I'll call the Finance Committee meeting till close.
For the circle. This one.
6:34 PM, we'll call to order a public hearing for ordinance 2022-35, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing an additional appropriation for new computer servers for the city. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment? Please come to the mic, state your name and address for us. Give it a couple minutes.
And I would say, just for this information, this originally was advertised at 90,000, but we want to reduce it to 35 because of the way that it's going to be financed. So it's no longer needs to be at 90,000. We can reduce it down. We can appropriate to 90, but only anticipate spending the 35.
Yeah. 6:35 PM, I will close the public hearing. 6:35 PM, Monday, November 7th, 2022. I'm Mayor Chris Martin, calling to order the regular session of the Logansport Common Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Amy Densmore,
Present.
Larry Hood,
Present.
Jonathan Nelms,
Present?
Jacob Don, absent. Scott Petey, absent. Carl McPherson,
Here.
Dave Morris.
Here.
All right, we'll start with the approval of minutes for the special called session on October 24th, 2022.
Make a motion to approve?
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for question?
Amy Densmore,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
I have an update for Erie Avenue, if Deputy would come up and speak on that.
Yeah, so last time I had Andrew come up and give you guys an update on where we are. Fortunately, we've been able to get back to work, really full go this month with Dykeman back down there at the site, getting things going. We're hopeful if the weather holds up that we can get the vast majority of this done this year and maybe all of it. The intention is to have the road opened, if only temporarily, for the winter, sometime, say mid-December. We're coordinating with NDOT on their signal changes that they're doing and trying to time all of that up so that everything opens up at the same time, so we don't have to close it again when they go in to do their work and do all of that. So we're hopeful that, we'll get the road opened back up. Kelly recently had a call with NIPSCO, and we've been working with them on trying to make sure that we can recover any additional costs that we incur because of the delays that we've had. They've been pretty receptive to that. We have another meeting with them beginning of next month, right? Once we see where the weather is, what they've been able to get done through working some overtime and all of that, we'll be able to nail down the cost that we're expecting them to cover, which is basically anything additional due to their delays. Any material prices that increase going into next year that we weren't expecting, we're expecting them to cover. Any of the overtime that has had to be worked by Dykeman to get things done before the weather hits, we're expecting them to cover that as well. There's no guarantees, but they've been pretty receptive to that in the conversations we've had. They just want to nail down kind of what we're expecting into next month. And then over the course of the next month, we'll probably come to the Finance Committee meeting and talk about how we cover any additional costs that we have in the interim, fully expecting that any of those would be covered by NIPSCO down the road. So that's where we are. They're back out there working. We've been fortunate with some good weather lately that have allowed them to get some nice long work days in, and hopefully it holds up and we get it done.
What month does Central Paving shut down their paving?
Depends on the weather.
But they haven't given you notice saying like December 1st or anything? Okay.
No.
So they're gonna, okay.
That's part of the discussion, that they hope that they may,
Yeah,
if things are going good and you got one more week to get it done, that they
yeah.
keep it open a little longer. It's one of the things to deal with local people and guys.
And you're all gonna meet, what, the first week, second week of December?
Talked about the first week in December. I'm waiting on a call back from their lawyer.
Okay.
Any questions?
I've got, the only other question, have we decided anything to bring to the council about putting lights? You know,
Not
they
this
run
time.
the electricity, or the wiring down there, but we have no light poles, right?
Yeah, so what we had talked about on the lighting was, number one, we have the price for that. If that's something that you guys want to consider doing within this project, we definitely can do that. But we talked about with the next phase of Erie Avenue potentially being federal funds, that the grants, the federal grants allow you to use that as part of the project. So as community crossings, we would be paying 100% of the lighting. Whereas if we go for a federal rural call application or one of those other federal programs, those are the 80-20, then the lighting is actually included in that 80-20. So we don't have to pay 20% if we included that as part of a federal project. And that's what our engineers have said, is that we're able to go back and do the whole corridor. Even if we're not paving all of it, we'd be able to do the lighting on the whole corridor.
So when's the engineering gonna be done with the next phase, and how far is the next phase? 1 block, 2 blocks, 6 blocks?
So they're doing the design for the entire the rest of Erie Avenue down to 17th, I believe. And then, it's up to us to decide what the phases is. That's the next phase. They'll give us the cost estimates for all of it. If we want to go for one call from, the federal government, probably next year. It would be a pretty quick turnaround to make a decision on funding that amount of money over the next month, because at the beginning of December, I think, is typically when the federal calls come. So they're supposed to have, in the next couple of weeks, they're supposed to have the full design and cost estimates to us, and then we can start exploring some of those funding
Okay,
opportunities.
you said in the next couple of weeks, does that mean before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
I would expect it before Thanksgiving. I can't guarantee anything, but that was my understanding the last time I talked to
From
you.
the engineers?
Yeah. Yeah, they were both down at the site last week, Andrew and the other engineer they have working on it, and they were expecting to get me something within the next couple of weeks. So,
Okay. Thank you, Deputy. All right, reports from committees, boards, and commissions.
Yeah, we had a finance committee meeting at 6:30 this evening to talk about the IRS penalties.
Anyone else have any reports? Okay. Presentation, Tom Partridge.
Good evening. It's not really a presentation, but thank you for allowing me a few minutes. I come here with thanks, actually. The MSRP project, we know, is finally wrapped up after a long and arduous time period. And I think it turned out pretty well. Okay. Happy. But, you know, it took a lot of work to get it done. It took a lot of people involved. Especially want to thank this council. Okay, I wish a couple of them were here that are absent tonight because you guys went to bat for us, and we know that. We appreciate it very much. It was an onion that we were peeling, and every time we peeled it, we got another layer of things in our building and others. Okay? So I want to thank the council, especially Dave Morris, who kind of stood by me a lot of times. Aaron Schaefer, who started the thing. Bill Cuppy, who was on board. Chris, the mayor. Jacob, deputy mayor. Robert Renowantz. Kevin Sullivan of KPS and his crew. I mean, I got along great with those people. They did some extra things that weren't really in the scope of work, which was kind of a constant issue, but I don't have any complaints about what they did at all. Okra, which was the people that got us the grant, got us the money. It costs a lot more money than what we all thought, but what doesn't in today's world? So I just wanted to, you know, I think it turned out great. Our building looks great. We get comments all the time from people coming in the shop and on Facebook. As you know, some of you know, I posted a lot of pictures of the work and how it was done. And we just, people come in and they just are amazed. You know, yeah, there was some criticism going on at the time as to what was happening with our buildings downtown, but, you know, it wasn't going to ever magically turn it back into what it looked like 150 years ago when it was built. It had to do what we had to do with it. But I think it looks pretty darn good. I remember sitting here before the council in one meeting, we were talking with the architect and the builder and everything, and I said, I think this building could end up being probably the prettiest building downtown. Amy kind of thought that I was going a little too far. She's kind of biased, but it is. It's one of the coolest buildings downtown. And I invite any of you to stop by and look, come inside, go upstairs, and see the windows that face Market Street now that are amazing. The view up there is really cool. So I just wanted to thank everybody and let you know that you know, we appreciate it very much. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
business. Ordinance 2022-25, Councilman Knowles.
Ordinance 2022-25, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, regulating the use of dumpsters in the City of Logansport. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2022-25 on its second reading.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend. Since the first reading, we've had the addition, and it's highlighted in your ordinance of, section 4, C and D. Those were the two, about the, dumpster owners, registering their dumpsters. That's been added. So I'd like to amend the, ordinance to reflect those two additions.
Second.
Any further discussion? This is to vote on the amendment for ordinance 2022-25. Call for question.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion to vote on ordinance 2022-25 with the amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-25 passes on its second reading. Ordinance 2022-33, Councilwoman Dinsmore.
Ordinance 2022-33, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, establishing payouts for the Logansport Police Department's Physical Fitness Incentive Program and the Incentive Training Program. I'd like to move ordinance 2022-33 forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-33 passes on its second reading. Ordinance 2022-34, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2022-34 is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending ordinance 2004-09 for the transfer of city funds to the rainy day fund number 2236 per Indiana Code 36-1-8-5.1. Mayor Martin, I ask for a vote on second reading of ordinance 2022-34.
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-34 passes on its second reading. Ordinance 2022-35, Councilman Morris.
Ordinance 2022-35, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing an additional appropriation for new computer servers for the City of Logansport. I'd make a motion, again, this is one that needs a motion to amend. The figures that Dwayne talked about earlier in the public hearing were changed from 90,000 in the first reading to 35,000 in this reading. So I'd make a motion to amend the amounts.
I second.
Any further discussion? All right. Call for question on ordinance 2022-35's amendment.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes.
Motion to vote on ordinance 2022-35 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-35 passes on its second reading. Ordinance 2022-36, Councilman McPherson.
Ordinance 2022-36, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, moving previously appropriated funds for the Riverside Park project into the LWCP grant fund. Make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question?
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-36 passes on its second reading. Ordinance 2022-39, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2022-39 is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Cass County, Indiana, establishing new Logansport Municipal City Council boards. Mayor Martin, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2022-39, second reading.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question?
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
No.
Amy Dinsmore,
Abstain.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-39 passes on its second reading, 3-2.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
I don't believe it does.
Wait, what?
We had a discussion a while back when we only had 3 votes on a ordinance or a resolution, and I checked our ordinance, and it says you have to have a majority of the council elect. So 4 people would have to vote in
So we
favor
need
of
4
that
votes.
to make it pass.
Oh, God. There's some statute about if somebody abstains, that doesn't defeat it's in the book, how we voted. I agree with what you're saying, but there is another provision. I don't know how to tell you definitively.
I mean, I just want to make sure that we're making the right decision. I don't know about the abstention rule, but I know I went back, we had a discussion a couple meetings back about the number you needed for it to be approved. And our ordinance, I can't tell you the number offhand, says you have to have a majority of the elected council. Even if we only have 4 people here, in my mind, that means all 4 would have to say.
Well, since we're still on the ordinance, can I change it? I'll just say yes. I just felt like it's fine. I'll change my abstain to yes.
Okay. So ordinance 2022-39 passes 4-1. There we go.
Thank you.
That's easy. Thanks,
No
Dave.
research.
There we go. All right. Did you get that one? Okay. All right, new business. Resolution 2022-149, Councilman Nelms.
Resolution 2022-149, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, transferring appropriations for the Parks Department. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2022-149.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question?
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-149 passes. Resolution 2022-150, Councilwoman Dinsmore.
Resolution 2022-150, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, transferring appropriations for the department of Community Development. I'd like to move this forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-150 passes. Resolution 2022-151, Councilman Morris.
Resolution 2022-151, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing the transfer of funds for the police station renovations into a City of Logansport project fund at First Farmers Bank and Trust. I'd like to move this forward for a vote.
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-151 passes. Ordinance 2022-40, Councilman McPherson.
Ordinance 2022-40, ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending ordinance 2017-23, which is a longevity pay for civil city employees. Mayor, move this forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-40 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-41, Councilman Dobbs.
Ordinance 2022-41, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending the longevity pay scale for members of the Logansport Police and Fire Departments, its retirees, and spouses. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2022-41 on its first reading.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-41 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-42, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2022-42 is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, establishing rules for city parks, trails, sport courts, mule house, and aquatic center, and splash pad. Mayor Martin, I ask for a vote on first reading of ordinance 2022-42.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-42 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-43, Councilwoman Dinsmore.
Ordinance 2022-43, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to appropriate funds from the ARPA Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund for purposes that fulfill the intent of the American Rescue Plan Act in aiding the City of Logansport's recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 emergency by providing $50,000 in funds to businesses through seeded funds. I'd like to move this forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-43 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-44, Councilman McPherson.
Ordinance 2022-44, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to appropriate funds from the ARPA COVID Local Financial Recovery Fund for the purpose that fulfills the intent of the American Rescue Plan Act in aiding the city of Logansport recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 emergency by funding the Make My Move program. Mayor, I'm against this. So
Have a
I'm not
motion
gonna,
to vote.
I'll make a motion to move it forward for a vote.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Jacob, would you like to comment? Is there anything else you would like to kind of say about the Make My Move program, about the benefits, what it does for the city?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I went through the numbers last time. There's a pretty clear return on investment for, the city and our local businesses on a program like this. I mean, I think the benefit of doing it when we're doing it would be that we have access to potentially $250,000 in matching funds that by the end of this month probably won't be there. And then we'll be probably behind the eight ball with some other communities that are near us that are going to be participating in this program. So I know there was some concern with it coming from the ARP funds. That was just a bucket of funding that we were making some decisions on when this conversation came up. I think it's a valid program, whether we do it through the ARP or through CEDIT or general fund or whatever we would do it through. And I'd urge you to support it. But
what communities have you talked to that benefited from this? Jasper was one of them you talked about the last time.
there are,
Can you tell me about Jasper?
what specifically about it? It's a great community. I love visiting, but
Jasper has prospered.
they do theirs through the Southern Indiana. So I don't know exactly what their number is broken out versus the Southern Indiana group, which was in the information I gave you last time. So, I mean, these people have had, I don't have the information with me at this time, but have had several movers with, the average salary was around $70,000 for the person moving in, mostly had trailing spouses too. So it's tough to quantify specifically on Jasper. A lot of other communities have done it, and I know are getting ready to do it. I know they've talked about it in Monticello. They've talked about it in a couple other counties near us.
So Jasper itself, the city of Jasper, has put $0 into it.
I think theirs was funded through a regional organization that they fund.
The city of Jasper, Indiana, has put $0 into it. That's what's the question.
I don't know exactly what their funding agreement is with the Southern Indiana. It's a group similar to our NCIRPC.
Yeah.
That they did their
And
funding.
why don't we go through that group?
We brought it up.
Us going by ourselves, because Jasper put $0 according to the mayor of Jasper.
So they put money into their
Zero.
into their regional organization. They put money into that.
They put
That was-
$0 to make my,
Can I ask you a question?
They're on the list for Make My Move. They are funded through their regional organization. I had our regional organization, involved in a lot of these conversations. They have a lot of other people to answer to on this and on funding something like this. And so their ability to do it wasn't necessarily on the timeline, I believe, for the matching funds. And they're dealing with a lot of other things right now with the Ready, so I'm not sure that it's been top of mind for that group. But we did explore the regional route, and I do think that it would be a positive development, but I also think that Logansport could take advantage of it by ourselves and, reap all of the benefits without having to share it with some of our other communities. But I'm totally for the regional approach, and I think it's probably something we could explore after we got the matching funds as well. But I think that's one of the key pieces is right now there's these funds available from the state, and they're going to be paying people to move to communities all around us, and we're going to be left behind on that front.
so the state's gonna give us money?
The state would be giving us $250,000. If this passed, we would get $250,000 from the state for this program directly to move people here to Logansport.
And what agency is that coming?
That's the IEDC, the Economic Development Corporation. Did you have something, Dave?
Well, I was just going to ask you a couple of questions. You know, I've kind of forgotten exactly what I was going to ask you when Carl was asking you about Jasper, but I assumed, you know, we had this discussion, I think, in one of our finance committee meetings. He brought up Jasper, and I assumed that they probably paid into this 5-county group that then took it on for all 5 of the counties.
Yes.
And in my mind, it would be similar to what we do with economic development and Bill. We give him money, and then he figures out how best to use it for
Very
our
similar,
community. The other question I had was on the funding that would come from Lilly. Now, is that like a $50,000 all or nothing thing, or, you know?
It is up to 50,000.
So,
And then they match it. So technically, it's 100 because you get the extra 50 from IADC for that 50, but theirs is up to 50 of 50-50 matching funds with the locals. So if we did 25, they would do 25, but if we did 75, they would only do 50.
anybody else have any questions on this for Jacob? Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
No.
Amy Dinsmore,
No.
Larry Hood.
No.
Ordinance 2022-44 fails, 2-3. Ordinance 2022-45. Councilman Morris?
Ordinance 2022-45, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to appropriate funds from the ARP Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund for purposes that fulfill the intent of the American Rescue Plan Act in aiding the City of Logansport's recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 emergency by providing up to $400,000 for infrastructure needs at the junction. I'd move this forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion?
What interface are they going to be doing on this? What interface are we going to do on this? We already did the sewer. What's the $400,000 going for? That's what I was looking back here in my notes to find it, and I couldn't find anything.
Okay. Let me go. All right, Carl. Thank you, Bill, Joe. I would just say, first of all, Carl, that I know we've had lengthy discussions about how this funding, what this funding would pertain to.
Yeah.
Uh,
All I'm asking, what's the $400,000 for? Billy?
It'll be exterior improvements that you will see that's beneficial to all, not just the mall.
What?
Mainly asphalt and
Exterior improvements.
asphalt specifically, and lighting, sidewalks, and there's a big chunk of the sewer work that was not covered by RDC. So that would be kind of a, I'll say reimbursement, but Joe has paid that out of pocket to date.
How much do you pay out of pocket?
Between the hotel group and ourselves, we each put up $100 additional $1,000.
So, and that was for the sewage, $100,000. All right. Where's the other $300,000 going?
Sidewalk improvements.
Where?
In front of the mall,
Where?
in front of the actual, like where Dunham's, Harbor Freight, where the hotel site is at, along front of the Sears building, along down by the Sears, by the garage. The asphalt.
That's not gonna be paved? I mean,
Well, no, there's sidewalks, pedestrian sidewalks in front of the building,
okay,
lighting in front of the building.
in front of the Dunhams and what other retail places are gonna go into there?
Right.
Okay. And have you got a cost on this sidewalk?
Lower, Clint from Solid Finish is doing the work, a little over $200,000.
275, 290,
18,000 approximately,
200 what?
$219,000
219,000 for sidewalks.
approximately, yes.
And then the approximate total
And-
for asphalt.
And what? How much for asphalt?
The asphalt work currently, we're, with the RDC assisted on all the drive and entryways, there's additional work in excess of $400,000 that we spent just in front of the Harbor Freight space and where the Dunham space is at, and also the rear Harbor Freight. That asphalt work was all replaced, and that's in excess of,
Well, if you need extra on that, why didn't RDC give him more money?
That's what our commitment from them was.
Commitment from who?
RDC was what we asked for, was mainly the sewer work. We focused on the infrastructure.
But you didn't pay the whole sewer work.
Correct.
Okay, so you didn't complete that project. Why didn't you give him an extra $100,000 then?
That was the agreement with RDC.
Yeah, but why not go back to RDC and ask them, hey, this was a cost overrun, we need an additional $100,000?
RDC was the most instrumental on the bond issue. They have been the reason we have not had to request $1 from council. So I felt this was more in this ARP realm. Committee felt that, to finish out the sewer project and then the rest of the asphalt.
Well, you said, we haven't even got the asphalt yet, you got $219,000 in sidewalks. That's $319,000, so it's gonna leave you what, $71,000 left?
No, he didn't mention
No.
the asphalt, which is another 400 and some $1,000.
Okay,
got asphalt, which is in excess of $400,000.
okay,
You've got curbs going in, because we're doing all the new drive aisles, so curbs are going, which is in excess of $40,000.
all right.
You've got landscaping, which is in excess of almost $40,000. And
And was this all in your addition or your plan that you submitted to your bank when you got money in the beginning?
some of it was, yes, price
Okay.
increases.
And why can't these other sidewalks and stuff, I mean, just have pavement all the way up there? I mean, $219,000 for sidewalks, I don't know. I'm not a contractor, but that's kind of, maybe that's the going rate then, so.
We actually
All
cleaned,
right, so the expenses he's got is going to be more than $400,000.
well
Oh,
more
yeah.
than 400,000,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
And where's that money coming from?
My pocket.
Okay. And why can't this 400,000 come from your pocket since this is a private thing going
Piggy
on?
bank is shrinking.
Pardon?
The piggy bank is shrinking. I need to keep the funds available for the next phase. I've got,
Okay, but why not put the next phase off for another 6 months or a year till you get some cash flow?
good question, but it's tenant driven. You know, I've got 2 letter of intents from 2 national brands that I need to start work on. And I can't go and get funding on it until I get signed leases.
Yeah, but, okay, you got signed leases for the other, but nothing's open.
Well, it'll be opening, Carl. It'll be opening. Harbor Freight's going to shoot for year end. The hotel's open.
Okay, year end. I heard October, then November, now it's going to be
No.
sometime in January.
Harbor Freight, I stated in minutes, the goal is by Christmas. That's never been
Okay.
changed. The hotel had their own delays. They are now on a December 7th timeline, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Carl, we've all had issues with supply chain. You know, with supply chain issues, cost of labor. I mean, you could talk to.
Oh, no, I understand that. I'm just saying the 400,000 and stuff, and some of the other things that you want to do could be pushed back another 6 months until you got some cash flow. I understand the cash flow. You have zero cash flow,
Right,
and everything is coming out of your own pocket.
but the dollars.
That's what happens when you go in to develop. You have a plan with the bank, And then you ask the bank for cost overruns, or at least the experience I've had in different ones. Okay, so,
We've had some dollars for cost overruns, Carl, but it hasn't covered the complete cost.
Okay.
For instance, like the initial budget for asphalt work, for instance, you talk to somebody like Kurt, that's who we're using. Our initial asphalt bids were, for the same amount of work, was less than $200,000. Today, that same asphalt work that was in my original budget is up over $200-some thousand. So I talked to guys like Clint, my bid from Clint, initially when it started, those numbers are maybe $170,000, $180,000. So those additional increases are not covered. Additional labor costs aren't covered.
yeah,
Landscaping, to get landscape materials. We planned X amount of dollars for landscaping, the landscape material cost is up.
yeah.
Everything on our budget has gone up in price. And I'd have no problem meeting with you and showing you all
Yeah.
the budgets initially and then where they're at today.
Well, what I'm saying, you come to Billy and his group or anything else, you get this RDC, and then you come up $100,000 short here and whatever numbers you gotta do. But again, I mean, it just sounds like you keep coming back to the pot.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. I keep coming back to the pot. I mean.
Well, what 350 they set out there to do your sewer work. Why didn't you go to the LMU and ask them for it?
We did.
Okay, and what'd they say?
They declined.
Okay,
We went to all the neighbors that were going to benefit from all the sewer work. You've got, the church, you've got the AT&T building, you've got the bank, the Dollar Tree building which we own, you've got DJ's Liquors, you've got Dr. Price's building, you've got all those properties there. We went and solicited assistance from to help cover the infrastructure work because it's going to, basically all their lines tied to our property. And a couple assisted, a couple of them signed like easement agreements that'll futurely help in cost. But a handful of them just said no.
yeah,
We've got easements already accessed.
well.
Our sewer line, we're going to litigation. That's kind of the response. We had no.
Well, no, and knowing them and their business plan that they had, I can understand why they would say no, so, yeah. All right, I've got no other questions.
Carl, on a side note, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and go through the initial.
No, I was just curious whether 400,000 or anything else, and you're gonna dig deeper in your pockets, probably for another $300,000 or $400,000 the way you're talking here, because building shorted you $100,000 on the sewer work.
Wow, that's such a misstatement, Carl.
RDC did that.
This project was around 10 million. Now it's gone up to about 12 with issues. And we're $6 million into it out of Joe's pocket, and he's going to continue. And I think it's great for the East
Well,
End.
Joe's a good businessman, and Joe's gonna benefit down the road when he's reaping in millions.
God bless him for doing that,
And it's,
for taking the risk that no one else has taken. In my 8 years, nobody else would even look at this property. They spit on it. Now we have somebody that is rolling with it and investing and taking this dialogue and wanting to move forward for Logansport. He has vested $12 million in the long end. It's going to be huge for Logansport and our tax implications. Nobody has shorted him anything. He's not coming to the till time after time. I have not asked council for $1 on this project.
and that,
I am asking you for this amount tonight. Thank you.
okay.
Bill, before you guys leave, you and Joe, with the sewer work that was done out there, did that improve, it had to improve the other businesses that Joe was just talking about, right?
Here's the thing I got to plug Joe for. This was $525,000. Joe did not need the new sewer. Did not need it. He did it because it was best for that area in the long run that we're talking about. He, out of his pocket, wrote the check for the sewer work, did not need it. He had a lift station, he would have been just fine.
That I just replaced.
That he just replaced on his dime. Hope that answered it.
Well, my question is, there is a business out there that Joe mentioned that flooded there more than once. Does the work that's been done help those businesses out as well?
Yes, what happens, Larry, the lift station that was on site, imagine just a sump.
Was that by one of the businesses that flooded?
If a pump goes out and you can't get an electrician out, you got one pump now handling
Right.
all the shit for the mall. And the mall shut down now. I mean, obviously, when the business is over besides Dunham, but all the other businesses there went all to their lift station.
Dickens Liquors, Dr. Price's, everybody benefited from the sewer work that was done out there.
Plus-year-old sewer system is now abandoned, and there's all new sewer lines. We did not need the benefit since we displaced all the real estate in the mall and
Right.
the station. I mean, if we ever put a big restaurant in, that would benefit the most from
Right.
having a sewer system. But all the retailers we have currently, they're gonna have pedestrian bathrooms. And they're gonna have customer bathrooms. We don't benefit. The hotel benefits big time. But
Well,
what's the expense?
And again, I know you said when you were asking some of those businesses, they would help out a little bit. One of those businesses wanted my wife to spend the night there so she could monitor the downstairs portion because it was flooding. So, God bless you.
Yeah, thank you, Larry.
Any further discussion?
Oh, you answered my question, Joe. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Call for question?
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-45 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-46, Councilman Nelms.
Ordinance 2022-46, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to appropriate funds from the ARPA Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund for the purposes that fulfill the intent of the American Rescue Plan Act in aiding the City of Logansport's recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 emergency by providing up to $750,000 for public-private parking at Riverside Park. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2022-46 on its first reading.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, what's the total cost gonna be on this, Mayor?
What do you mean?
$750,000, not gonna build the parking lot over there, is it?
No. The initial engineer estimates, about 1.2 million. Typically, engineer estimates are high. We will be getting true estimates at that point. We understand it's more than that, but the request is 750.
Where's the other?
Be private investment. On that, we have initially, if you remember, the primary reason for this request is because Riverside Park needs parking, and it's part of their plans going forward. Secondarily, with the new,
Okay, what do you mean their plan going forward? I didn't understand that. The Parks Department plan going forward,
Parks Department,
they're in favor of this parking lot?
to my knowledge, yes. They're here if I'm wrong.
Oh, we'll ask them, somebody, okay, finish.
Secondarily, with the water plant and the electric plant being demolished, now we have this space that can be used for development. Most things you have in development have requirements of parking. So we think it's going to be a twofold benefit because no development really can have these parking requirements. I did send you as much as I could tell you about the local investors that we have, but I thought I would read it if I could.
Yeah.
A local group of long-standing and trusted business owners and entrepreneurs have committed to redeveloping a new riverfront district. This will be a multi-phased approach that begins with construction of a multi-story, high-end event center with inside capacity of over 400 individuals with additional rooftop seating and covered outside spaces for an additional capacity of 150 more people. Future phases also offer market rate housing, multi-tenant, and retail. And this local group is dedicated. We're so far along in this process as far as gathering all the stuff you need. We do know that we'll have to do an RFP because RDC owns this land. But if the local group gets it, the intent is the event center and housing on that area, which will both need parking.
So if it does, and we build a parking lot there for $1.5 million or whatever it's gonna be, who's gonna own that parking lot?
In this case, the private investors will own it, which in my estimate is a good thing. because any maintenance, snow removal, sealing, future maintenance will be on their side. There will be an agreement in place for unlimited public use in infinity that Mr. Lehman will weigh on him to write for the public use, which would be events, parks, things like that.
So we're giving this investor, local or anything else, the money to build the parking lot. The thing that I agree on that, he's gonna own it, he's gonna pay taxes on it.
Correct.
We're giving him $750,000. We should have given Joe another $500,000. I mean, yeah, right there. No, but pardon, no, but no. The 750 down there. The city will not own that piece of property at the end of the
Correct.
park.
You could, but I would recommend that you
But-
don't.
Okay, I'm recommending giving it to whoever so they'll pay taxes on it.
Correct.
So tax revenue is what I'm looking at, so, okay.
And the project itself is multi-million-dollar project that will also be
But-
private.
Yeah,
There will be no abatement request.
and how soon is this parking lot gonna be built?
Parking lot would be
2025?
2023.
20
We have requirements through a permit that Logansport Utility has that we have to build this pretty fast. So it'll be early stages of 2023.
We're gonna get tax revenue, Billy, I'll vote for it.
All right, thank you, sir.
You answered my question.
All right, I'll try.
Oh, I know you do.
Thank you, Phil.
That's all I got, man.
Any further discussion? All right, call for question.
Carl McPherson.
Yes,
Larry Hood.
No.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-46 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-47, Councilwoman Dinsmore.
Ordinance 2022-47, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to appropriate funds from the ARPA Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund for the purposes that fulfill the intent of the American Rescue Plan Act in aiding the City of Logansport's recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 emergency by providing up to $20,000 for the acquisition of the Exide property. First reading, I'd like to move this forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to hear from Councilman McPherson. Carl, as he calls
all
it.
right, that's fine, my friend. Why the 20,000? I talked to, from what I understood from the deputy mayor, we're giving $20,000 so they can pay back taxes, title fees and stuff, so we can acquire the old battery factory land over on, that's been condemned. Am I correct there, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Why do we pay in the back taxes? Why not excise out of their money? Talking to the feds out of Chicago, which they don't want to make a decision here. They pass everything to IDEM out of Indianapolis, and talking to IDEM, who's over the project over there, thinks we're crazy for buying it, giving them any money at all, that they should be giving us $200,000, $300,000 to take the property off of them because it's condemned and we don't even know the cost. The state doesn't know the cost. The feds don't know the cost. They got estimates. It could be anywhere from $900,000 to $5 million. No one knows.
I can tell you specifically, the Indiana Brownfields program is involved in every step of this process. So they are aware and they're in support of us doing this. We could potentially lay off, it'll go to tax sale. They don't have the money within the trust to pay the taxes. I don't remember if you know about the actual money that the state got through the bankruptcy, but there was $15,000 to maintain this property. They have run through that. They have no money. They have not spent any money on maintaining the property. We've sent them letters. We've done all the kind of things that we can do on code enforcement side. They're in delinquency on their taxes with the county. So eventually, it'll end up in the tax sale, and whoever is going to buy it is going to have to cover that anyway. We'll end up with bad people, and we'll miss out on the opportunity for $3 million in grant funding if we don't do this first quarter of next year. So that, I mean, that's one of the keys too, is we have an opportunity to get $2 to $3 million free and clear from the state for this.
Nothing's guaranteed we're gonna get any money at all on the grant, right?
It is guaranteed as far as they can do it. Yes, we've sent in the application that they've made us do. I sat in a meeting with the head of the Indiana Finance Authority and the Indiana Brownfields program, and they assured us that this was high on their priority list, and that because of a partnership with Logansport Utilities on the loans that they're doing through the SRF, we have an opportunity to gain $2 to $3 million in principal. The number is not nailed down yet, but that would allow us to do a very big portion, if not all, of the property's remediation. And we have our consultants that have given us the estimates. We're really nailing that down as we can figure out exactly what we get, how much we can get done for that amount. But this is a golden opportunity to get this thing cleaned up, because it's just going to sit there with the weeds growing for the next however many years, and then somebody might buy it for a junkyard or something. I couldn't tell you. But that's the purpose. So they're not getting a dime off of us.
Who's our consultant that's telling us that we can do this for $3 million?
So Bruce Carter and Associates, BCA.
Have we seen any of those reports, council? I haven't.
I can get you all of the environmental reports on the Exide property if you want. We've done phase 1, phase 2, supplemental phase 2s, all of the above. The estimates that we've been given are anywhere from 3 to 5 million, depending on the level of remediation. So if you wanted single-family housing or something on that lot, you'd have to do the full bore cleanup, and it'll be, in the range of 5 million.
No, I would rather get it back to somebody that's gonna own it, that's gonna build something on it, we're gonna get a tax revenue. But the way it's written right now tonight, if we're gonna vote on it without tabling it, I'm gonna vote no.
Because
Sit there.
Rather sit there, no, I wanna find out, is it $3 million, and are we gonna get the title?
Yeah, we've already done the title work.
We've already done,
The initial part.
and why haven't we filed it? Because of the back taxes?
We filed the title work to find out about the back taxes. and
Okay.
what other liens there may be.
And since you filed it, how much back taxes is owed?
We didn't file anything. We
Okay.
requested
But if you
Cass
found
County
out.
Title to give us a title search and
Okay.
tell us what the liens are on the property. I think it's $16,000 per half, and there's probably gonna be, could be 45,000 by the time it's done. This money is just to give us some pocket money to move on these things as they come due, to have it set aside so we can get moving on this thing.
All right, and this all has to be done by when?
Well, trying to get done before the end of the year is the idea, so that we can get on the.
we have to be ready and have control of the property by the time that Logansport Utilities is ready to close on their SRF loan, so that they can add our grant money onto the principal of that loan. So that's the issue, is we have to have site control by the time they're ready to close.
Somebody's gonna help us clean that place up over there?
Their loan is going to allow us to get grant money for it, yes. It's not the money that they're planning to use for other things.
I don't understand what you mean. We're gonna get grant money. Grant money from whom?
From the Indiana Brownfields program. So they're adding money from the Indiana Brownfields program onto the top of the principal for the loan, and then they're going to take the loan down to 0%. So that
Yeah, but doesn't matter if it's zero or not. The loan we're gonna get, 3 million or whatever, we have to pay back.
Logansport Utilities,
What money they're giving us.
Carl, Logansport Utilities is going for a loan for 14.9, Greg, 14? 14?
14.7.
$14.7 million at whatever interest rate, around 2%, 2.5%. So what the IFA and the Indiana Brownfields program is willing to do is take that interest rate down to 0, give us additional principal on the top of that, so that the payments that utilities is going to be making are going to be exactly the same at $17 million as they would at the $14 million. So nothing changes on that account. They're just giving us this money because they can put brownfields money into it to clean up this site because they know it's a priority site for us and for the state because we got the short end of the stick on the bankruptcy. So it is grant money. Logansport Utilities is paying it back, but if we don't do this, they're going to be paying the exact same amount anyway. Does that make sense? I don't know how to make it.
How does it, and how's this benefiting Logansport that we're owning the property?
We're getting $3 million to clean up a blighted property that we don't have any.
No estimates from anybody what it's gonna cost to clean up.
We have the estimates from the environmental consultants that do this every day. I can get you the information if you want.
And what's the range on that again?
The range that they gave us when we were initially looking to go to the IFA, hoping that we would maybe get 700,000, was 3 to 5 million. And that is a range of different types of remediation because for different uses, for industrial uses, you don't have to do quite the extensive remediation as you do for housing. And so that's the difference in the estimates, is basically just to cap it, put it in place, put a parking lot over it, is the lowest, or, building foundations for industrial use. Or if you wanted to have, some level of housing out there, you'd have to do the full remediation up to the 5 million, maybe even more. I'm not sure that's what we're looking at. So we're really looking at the lower end of the estimates anyway.
Okay, if it goes to 5 million, where's the $5 million gonna come to clean it up? Because if we own it, we're getting no tax revenue off of it.
We're not getting tax revenue off of it anyway.
I know we're not. But we're not spending $5 million either.
We'd be getting $3 million in free money from the state to clean up a property that's going to be a problem for years and years. It already has been, and we have a golden opportunity to finally get this done.
$3 million that we're gonna get is gonna be at 0%, and we have to pay this back.
No, you are incorrect. So.
No, I'm just asking you.
But you haven't listened to what I've said, Carl.
Okay, I'll listen.
What I've said is that Logansport Utilities has a loan at $14.7 million at 2% interest, let's say. What the IFA is willing to do, who is the people that administer this program, what they're willing to do is take the rate down to 0%. And so they will add the principal on top of that, the $3 million principal, and keep the utilities payments exactly the same. So we'll be getting $17 million instead of the 14.7 or whatever. And the payments are going to be exactly the same. They're going to be paying their loan just as they would if we didn't do this at all. It won't change anything for them. It'll just change the principal, but their monthly payments or yearly payments are going to be exactly the same whether we do this or not.
Where's the money coming from?
I just want to say, Carl, Jacob and I have talked about this before. This is a golden opportunity. This, number one, it's my ward, and right now there's 30 acres over there that we can't use for anything. We're moving on Trelleborg. We've approved a grant application for Trelleborg to finish that up. We have the opportunity to control the fate of 17.5 acres of land in the city of Logansport.
Great.
And if we don't, it's hard to say what might happen with that property over there. We have the opportunity not only to acquire it for minimum amount of money, even if we had to spend $50,000 to get the legal work and the taxes paid up, that's minimal when you think about what you're purchasing. 17.5 acres of land in the city. The other thought here is, Carl, you're not going to get many opportunities to get $3 million for nothing.
Oh, I agree there, but how long's that plant set over there empty like that?
What does that have to do with anything?
A long time. You want it to sit longer?
Because this is the time, the opportunity's here, Carl. We can either accept the opportunity that's in front of us or turn it down and wonder someday why we didn't do it ourselves.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, the opportunity.
I appreciate the effort.
What they're doing. I was doing the work. I was working with our consultants, trying to figure out ways to get this cleaned up and figure out some of our economic development priorities. And this opportunity came up because of what they're doing with the SRF that we had the ability to access some additional funds, and it was beyond what I could have ever expected, because our consultant thought that maybe we would be able to get 500,000 from the state for it, and they came in at the full 2 to 3 million, and it's an opportunity that we shouldn't pass up.
Well,
And
I give them the 20, I vote for giving them the 20,000. It's gonna cost us 40. We just have to.
Well, we may be back asking you for more.
Well, that or we'll take it from the mayor. Mayor's got a lot of.
look, if we have to take it out of our budget to get this done and get this cleaned up, we definitely will. But
One of the things that I might recommend is that this is the first reading. If I would like to see this pass. If it does pass, I'd like for you to consider getting us a better number and possibly amending this.
yeah, I mean, we can get as good of quotes as you can get. I can have John to the next meeting even and give you guys some information on it from his perspective. So, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call for question?
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-47 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-48, Councilman Morris.
Ordinance 2022-48, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving a change in rates and charges of the Logansport Municipal Water Department. I'd move this forward for a vote.
So,
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for question?
Can I say something?
Oh, go ahead.
Clear my throat. I'd just like to offer an amendment, which I'm not entirely sure how to word this position if I word it wrong, Dwayne. I'd like to amend this to read that before the next phase it requires another approval by the council.
So what exactly are you asking, James?
Instead of the rates just going up, like every year after we pass this, it would have to be approved again. I don't like the idea of just a blanket increase that'll go over into the next council.
Yearly approval per phase?
Yeah.
Craig, do you want to speak on this at all? Mike?
Sure, I can appreciate that. That makes sense. However, we have two bond measures to get this money. The first bond we're going to take out in the beginning of first quarter next year. The second bond we'll take out in the end of 2024 into 2025. So we won't really have the flexibility to change the rate. So what we're saying here is we know how much we have to ask for. We're only borrowing it twice. So we don't really have, if it's a 5-year plan of 5 years of rates, we know what the 5-year rates need to be to pay back the $95 million. We only have 2 triggers. The first one is the first bond we're going to take. The next trigger is the second tranche, they call it, which is in 2024, beginning of 2025. We may be able to be flexible on that and say, what could the rates be after that, and make some adjustments. But we have to commit to all of it for 2 reasons. One, for us to be able to get the money, we need to show that the rates are in place because we don't have the revenue or the income to pay back the loan. It's the classic example of we don't make enough money to pay back the house loan if you were buying a house. So that's what they're telling us. That's why we have to commit to the rates now in order to be able to afford the loan payment in the future. But I will commit to this. On the second tranche, when we're ready to commit to that second bond, we will review the rate structure. If we have more bond money in place, more grant money in place, and if the cost estimates have changed, I will reduce the amount of the second bond and come back to you and say, we think that because of changes in the program or changes in our capital asset plan, we think the rates could be lower. So I will commit to that for sure.
and the rates are already lower because of some of the grant money he's already gotten.
Yeah, we already did get grant money, and there could be future grant money. We think the well program could be generating some grant money. We think there should be some additional grant money. We are hoping that some additional cost will come on the program in the future, but we'll have to commit to it. And then when we're ready for the second bond, I'll bring it to everybody and say, here's where we are.
Greg, did you guys hear much back from,
We didn't get any questions.
no feedback from anyone?
No, we created some cards to leave at the counter at customer service that I can give to all of you as well, in preparation for that, but nobody commented on that. I left them on the chair with you. Yeah, sure. So we created these cards for everybody thinking that people were gonna ask. Once I was on the radio, I gave an update on the radio. We did the press release. Cass County Online ran it, the Ferris Tribune ran it, and of course we ran it on our website and on our Instagram and Facebook. But we didn't get any direct questions. And we had a board meeting since then, which was public, and we didn't get any feedback then. We had a stormwater board meeting, we didn't get any feedback then. And then, of course, I was on the radio and didn't get any additional feedback after that. So I don't think we're going to hear about it much, maybe the second reading, and we have a public meeting after that. But I suspect come January, when the rates go up, we'll hear from a lot of people.
No feedback though from even businesses?
No, nobody at this point.
Thank you, sir.
It's been on the radio, on the newspaper, on Facebook. I mean, it's been, and these cards going out. I mean, we're distributing the information as best we can.
In regards to your communication with Tyson, how's that going?
It's going well. We have a meeting with them tomorrow. So I can give you a lot more information after that. So we're hoping that's going to be favorable. And what Amy's alluding to is we've got contract negotiations with our agreement with Tyson to provide their pretreatment.
Are you, I know, it seems like maybe the last utility board meeting you talked about getting with Harold and maybe with Jennifer Wilson to talk about the different levels for your like depreciation fund and all your different funds for maintaining certain balances within them. How soon do you expect to have those? Because I mean, those to me are going to help dictate possible reductions in the future.
Yeah, I think they'll be ready. I think the budgets, we're going to do budgets at the next board meeting. So that information should be in there. We had to put it in there for the budget. So we should see that in the November board meeting. What Councilman Morris is referring to is because of the additional loan amounts, we're forecasting that the reserves that the state requires us to have is going to change. But that also means that, some will be reduced as we pay loans off, but some will increase. And the reserve that they require us to keep is just that, a reserve. And it fluctuates, and that will dictate not just our payment amounts, but then how much we have to pay into that fund as well.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mike. Jonathan?
I didn't get a second, so it died anyway.
Very good. All right. So we do not have an amendment. So the ordinance 2022-48 has a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Jonathan Nelms,
No.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Amy Densmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-48 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-49, Councilman McPherson.
Ordinance 2022-49, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the change in the rates, charges of the Logansport Municipal Sewer Department. Mayor, pass this forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms, Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-49 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-50, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2022-50 is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving a change in rates and charges of the Stormwater District of the City of Logansport, Indiana. Mayor Martin, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2022-50.
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
No.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-50 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2022-51, Councilwoman Dinsmore.
Ordinance 2022-51, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving an additional appropriation from the general fund for the payment of IRS penalties and interest. I'd like to move this forward.
And the second reading of this will be December 5th.
Councilman Morris, did you second that? Okay.
He seconded it.
All right. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-51 passes on its first reading. Any public comments? Anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment, please come to the mic, state your name and address for us. Okay. Seeing none, any council member comments?
I have a couple comments. First of all, I just want to say that, we reviewed a lot of things tonight, committing quite a few funds, but I think we're at the crossroads of doing some things here in town that are really good. I believe that the Community Priorities Group truly thought out all the things that they brought to the council. And just for Greg's sake, I will say this, Jonathan, even though I voted in favor of the rate hikes, I will be his greatest nemesis. So, and he knows that. I will be monitored, if I feel like the utilities are bringing in more revenue that's necessary, I will be the first one to bring it to their attention, because I'm very rate conscious as far as the city of Logansport and the effect this will have on many of our community members. And lastly, I just wanted to ask Travis back there. Travis, we passed your physical fitness, and I was curious how many of your officers took that and how many of them passed it.
14 so far.
And they've all passed it?
All except for one, he's gonna retake it.
I think that's a great thing, so I appreciate the initiative on that.
Any other council member comments? Okay. Miscellaneous business and any matters not already considered, including ADA Section 5 compliance or concerns. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Any second? Do I have a second? Seconded. Okay, no. All right, call for questions.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
7:56, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
We could have.
Oh, it's the Don not here.
That's the agenda. It looks like about 8 minutes.
I mean, there been so much back and forth, and I mean, I think they were shocked to see that we got that letter. So, that's right.
Had to change your heart on it, but it's a long stuff. I think
Doesn't matter, does it? The last thing, ours just says, I believe, and I'll take another look at it, because, you know, we had that lengthy discussion at one of our meetings, and I thought, well, I've got information I know at home from when I first came on.
All right. Supportive of it.
Okay.
On the program as well. So I'm going to for taking the same thing as a month.
And maybe there's Indiana, even though it's not in our ordinance.
Hey, we were canceled by you sometimes.
Thanks, Greg.
Hey, somebody's gotta be the watchdog, right?
You need to make sure you sign the green sheets too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
Oh, yeah, I got two here. It was like,
Okay. That's what, 49, 50.
I just know all my other boards have it, so I just thought I'd bring it up. This would be a pain, that's what I do.
That's it. These are all first readings. 40 on, yep.
All right, thank you so much.
So we sent, Angie and I sent a contract to the railroad. Finally.
Did you ever hear who bought the rest of that? Who it is?
No.
I can't believe anybody's interested.
I am not. I know it is condemned, I mean, it's bad, we wouldn't looked at it, but our,
But you know, somebody years ago